Thank you, Kevin. How's everybody doing? Good morning. How's everybody doing? All right, I'm meteorologist Gary Lezak. I was on TV in Kansas City for 30 years, so I've got about 30 slides to show you in 3 minutes, so we're going to get through it real quick. I got a little more time than that, but it is raining today. There's a 100% chance of rain. There are thunderstorms, January thunderstorms heading right towards Kansas City right now. In about 2 hours, don't be surprised if it starts thundering and lightning a little bit. I wish I could control it and have it start in 5 seconds so I could do a dramatic entrance for you, but that is heading this way. This storm that is heading this way now was predicted to hit around January 8th, today being the 8th, 70 days ago. How is that possible? If you knew that was going to happen, what would you do? If you knew there were going to be 3 wet weeks leading into planting and then 3 dry weeks, how would you change your plans? So we're going to go over the forecast. Please take pictures when we get to the forecast for the spring, and we're going to look at your local areas. But as you can see on the first slide here, a weather 2020 vision into the new year. I said this storm was 70 days ago. We knew what the weather pattern was that was going to impact us today. Look at the middle slide there. If you have a chance to look at that, what I'm showing here is what happened just a couple of weeks ago. There was a major storm, hit California, 5 to 10 inches of rain, but look what happened 70 days before that, 71, 72 days before Christmas. A major storm hit California. At that moment, when the major storm hit California, Weather 2020 knew and predicted, if a lot of you have been following our reports, that California was going to have a wet winter. No doubt about it, 100%. We already knew California would have a wet winter because the pattern was setting up, it was beginning to cycle, and on October 14th when that happened, we knew it would return, and then it did. As you can see on the middle slide, the prediction is verified. On the right slide, it shows a very big storm coming to California the first week of March. That is 70 to 72 days after what just happened a couple weeks ago. The probability of that storm being there is nearly 100%. A 70-day forecast that's out right now, just for that part of the pattern. A week or two later, here's this storm. This storm happened 70 or 72 days ago, and it's going to return as well around the middle of March. So there you go, a perfect example. Knowing when changes everything. If you knew, what would you do as farmers? Let's look back at the first part of this weather pattern, beginning in October. In October is when the pattern we are in now began setting up. Look how much rain has fallen. In California, very wet. North Dakota, some of you are here from North Dakota, much above average rain. Below average over most of Nebraska. That's a concern area as we head into the spring. Kansas has a little spot there that's near average. Why is that little spot near average there in northern Kansas? It was actually this part of the pattern that cycled back through 70 days ago that produced a lot of rain in Kansas, and it's doing so right now as these thunderstorms are heading our way. Look at the temperatures. The temperatures, since this pattern set up, have been warmer than average over almost the entire nation. Even with that tremendous cold outbreak we had in the first 10 days of December, when other forecasts come out going, oh my God, the coldest winter ever is about to begin. No, it was a cold 2-week stretch, and then it warmed up. But this is what has been going on. It's important as you learn more about the LRC, what has been happening is going to cycle back through. All right? It's not absolutely perfect. It doesn't mean it's going to be 100% accurate, but it works. The LRC sets the timing. The LRC is the centerpiece of this big atmospheric jigsaw that I've been spending the past 40 years studying, learning, and predicting by using the centerpiece of the big atmospheric jigsaw. Other forecasts, and a lot of you have seen them, when they came out in October, they came out in November, they came out even in December. Those other forecasts predicted dry in California. So when they came out, I was like, you're already wrong, because they're using important pieces. La Nina means 5 out of 10 years are dry in California. What about the other 5 out of 10 years? El Nino, La Nina. La Nina is the cooling of the tropical Pacific Ocean. This season, like last year, it looked like it was starting to become a La Nina, and then it faded away. And last year, I was able to predict that we would not have any big drought, because I said the precipitation patterns would shift west over the agriculture belt, which they did. This year, the same kind of thing is happening. The weak La Nina is already shifting towards neutral, away from La Nina, so the precipitation patterns are also going to shift. But I can't promise no drought this year. There are other signals that indicate there could be some drought developing. What changed and what is new from last year? A longer cycle evolved. So last year was about a 6-week cycle. The hurricanes were 6 weeks apart. The severe weather outbreaks were 6 weeks apart. This year, it's a much longer cycle, and watching it set up was a painful experience for me, but it is now set. It's literally about a 10-week cycle, maybe a little bit longer than 70 days. There are 2 distinct phases of the pattern. I'm going to take you through that. There's anchor ridges and troughs. I'm going to talk about that. A signal of a major heat wave this summer. Why that is a concern, I'm going to show you that. And it's time to apply the LRC and not just discovering it. So let's all try to apply it this year. Anchor troughs, like the one near California in the blue shade that I show, that's where storm systems are more frequent and they're stronger. Then they go through what's called an anchor ridge, that big red blob you see. That's where storm systems are usually weaker or fall apart or die and less frequent and weaker. So that's the red area, and then off through the Great Lakes and Northeast is another anchor trough. That anchor ridge centered over Texas, Oklahoma, into Colorado. The Colorado ski areas are in danger. They have 15% to 20% of their terrain open for skiing right now. It's January, 15 to 20% open because they're in a snow drought at the moment. Here is something that I'm concerned with. This is a forecast. On the first day of winter, we put out this forecast for a major heat wave. Take a picture of this, save it, and when it happens, you're going to go, holy moly, he got it right. All right? So August 1st is the forecast for the center date of this. Yes, some of you may be thinking, it gets hot. That's the hottest time of the year anyway. But instead of 94 in southern Nebraska, it might be 104. Instead of 95 here in Kansas City, it might be 106. All right, that's extremely hot. So that's likely to happen. Remember now, we have figured out it's about a 10-week cycle. 10 weeks before this, 10 weeks before this major heat wave, will be around mid-May, late May. So something similar to this, an omega block, a big upper level ridge, will likely form. It might heat up at that period of time. If it happens in mid to late May, which it probably will, it could extend into summer, and then we have a serious drought situation. In the next few weeks, we will identify that at Weather 2020, and we'll be sharing that with you. All right, so just know that that's a big concern. There are 2 phases of this year pattern. We have a phase 1, where systems tap into the Arctic air, and a phase 2, where the storm systems blast California. Right now, we just entered back into phase 1, where these storm systems are going to be sliding from northwest to southeast again. This one is caught in that transition. It picks up a piece, and then the northwest flow develops. So snow has been falling in Iowa in the phase 1 part of the pattern. Phase 2 returns January 25th to February 10th. Then we go back to phase 1 in the second half of February, back to phase 2 in the first half of March when those California storms hit again. So California is going to get hit 2 or 3 more times with dry spells in between. They're in the middle, right now at the beginning, of about a 2 to 3 week dry spell. Not shocking. That's exactly what's supposed to happen, and it is happening. All right, so for the planting, growing, and harvest forecasts for you, we're going to transition from winter into spring. So if you knew again, what would you do? It's one of our mottos. Knowing when to pay attention. Identifying multi-week dry spells and high-risk wet periods. More importantly, anticipating peak severe weather periods. This is producing a risk of severe weather today. 10 weeks from today, it'll be a bigger risk. And we're going to have our severe weather guide. So we'll be able to predict when and where severe weather is going to happen with a 90% accuracy, predicting severe weather outbreaks at a 90% clip. All right, so, and then reduce last minute surprises. That's one thing we do. You're not going to be surprised when something happens a day or two from now. You're going to know, you're going to prepare, and that's what we do at Weather 2020. All right, here are the forecasts for the season, January through May. This is for the agriculture belt, basically from the western belt all the way to Indiana. I didn't include Ohio on this one, but this is the forecast temperatures from our patent pending model, the LRC model, the only model in the world that uses cycles. And you can see the warm forecast with 4 to 5 degrees above average temperatures for that 5-month stretch from Texas, Oklahoma, into western Nebraska, through Colorado, basically where you saw that Anchor Ridge. That is showing up on our model forecast that uses geospatial radar and satellite data. Here is the forecast percentage of average rainfall for the entire belt. And North Dakota is in one of those hot spots of moisture. 60 to 80% in a few spots. Nebraska is one of those centers. Northeast Wisconsin, a little drier. And then up to double average rainfall in North Dakota. Our products show that wet and dry weeks, the line you see, the solid line you see there, that line is the average line. Every week, this is week by week. You can go day by day in our model, week by week, or month by month. But this is week by week, and the weeks that are above the line are wet weeks. So February, first half of February have 2 wet weeks. This is for the whole belt. So let's get to North Dakota. Well, first of all, here's the growing degree days. We have a product that shows basically the growing degree days, and you can see how a planting and growing season will increase a little bit at mid-March, and then really start growing in April, and then kick into high gear in May with our growing degree day forecast. Here is North Dakota. In North Dakota, notice how the entire state, the chance of drought in North Dakota this year is like very low, maybe 20% chance, 80% chance it's not. 90 to 110% of average rainfall in the southeast corner. The rest of the state is up to double average rainfall in North Dakota. In Iowa, the heart of the Corn Belt, here's the forecast. Notice how it's a little bit different. Half of the state is below average and half of the state is near average. So the greens show just average rainfall, precipitation from Des Moines up to Fort Dodge, and the brown areas show 80 to 90%. So southern Iowa, eastern Iowa, not horrible, but we have to watch closely as we go through the next few weeks. For Kansas and Missouri, brown shows 70% to 90% of average rainfall. That extends from southern Kansas to near Kansas City up into near Kirksville, Missouri, northern Missouri near the Iowa border. So a concern area. And then the central and northwest Kansas has about near average rainfall in Kansas and Missouri. Here's the Kansas City metro area. We go down to county levels, down to close to your farm level, and you can see the precipitation forecast for Platte, Jackson, and Clay counties on the Missouri side of Kansas City. In Jackson County, it shows 80 to 90% of average precipitation. This is now through May. In Clay County, that'd be near 90%, and then up in Platte County, it's about average. So it goes down to that level of granularity. Snowfall, our model predicts how much snow is going to fall. It has 15 to 17 inches through April. That includes what's happened already. So about 10 more, 12 more inches of snow in Kansas City. Close to average, maybe a little bit below average on snowfall. And then for the counties of Clay, Jackson, and Platte counties, week by week. So if you're a farmer, okay, you look at that and you go, oh, it looks like it's going to be wet the first half of February, then a dry period from St. Patrick's Day all the way to the first week of April, and then 2 weeks that are wet in April, and then dry again. So it's showing you when the most likely dry spells will be and the wet spells will be. And so it's a really good tool to look at to see what's going to happen. I look at this and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm looking at it right here. I got my own screen. So it looks interesting. It looks like a lot of dry weeks there. So that's something that we'll be adjusting. Our model adjusts every Saturday night. And then this shows any chance of a late freeze. The chance of a late freeze is looking low right now. Usually there's a good chance in there. For the Kansas City area anyway, it only shows upper 30s to near 40 around the April 10th range, and that could be the last freeze. All the other lows are forecast to be in the 40s. So very interesting. So we have our contact at weather2020.com. We have conference specials. We'd love to see you out at our booth. Caden and Bryce, my two sales guys, are here. Just come out and check it out. And I think everyone should have this tool. You can have this tool and follow along with us. But that's your forecast for the spring. Again, last year, we didn't think there would be a growing drought because everything was shrinking. The drought was shrinking. This year, it's not shrinking or expanding. Droughts are either shrinking or expanding. So in the next few weeks, where is it expanding? And I'm concerned we're going to look around Nebraska and Colorado and see if that starts expanding. So that's something to monitor, and we'll be monitoring that for you. Kevin.
Appreciate it, Gary. I'll just use that clicker, and yeah, give Gary a round. Best weather guy I've used. So, like I said, I've lost a lot of money following weather guys. Gary has been good so far. Verdict's out still, Gary, on that.
Thanks.
No, I think, yeah, there could be some drought areas, so cool. I appreciate it. Yeah,
right.
Thanks. If anybody needs to get with him, Gary will be around, won't you, the rest of the day? Gary? Yeah, thank you.